Corey Graves is in a little bit of hot water right now for anyone living under a rock with our good friend Patrick Starr. He went to Twitter and tweeted out his frustrations with WWE after I think it was after Monday Night Raw or during Monday Night Raw was happening, saying that he was not famous enough to be on the show, and then even tweeted that he had a lot to say on NXT on Tuesday night. Didn't even make it to NXT on Tuesday night, as it was reported by Fightful that he was not going to be there. He was spotted leaving Orlando, actually, um, the afternoon of the show. And since then, the update now, per Fightful, is that Corey Graves has deleted these tweets bashing about if he is suspended, if they're going to turn this into something for television and at least make some money off it, or if he's eventually getting let go. No one knows really what's happening. There's just way too much speculation going on
Mm-hmm.
with the IWC.
Mm-hmm. I think in a way it's kind of good that we don't know what's really going on. I mean, obviously he involved us in this, so like if it is real life, like he decided to air it out on the internet, and so everybody that has access to the internet and is a wrestling fan probably knows about this right now. So you can't really be like, oh, it's none of our business or who cares, whatever.
No, he brought
Well,
us in.
yeah, you opened that door, unfortunately, so people are going to keep talking about it. But I think if this does end up being like an on screen story, or whether or not that was the plan the whole time, or maybe they actually just do it kind of like how they've done it before, like with the pivot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does make it a little bit more intriguing if that's the case, because we are sitting here and speculating about what's real, what's not, whatever. I think it would be super unfortunate if it's real, simply because we talked about this the other day before we went live. Like, I understand his frustration to an extent, because they've made so many changes to the announce teams like over the past couple years, where it was like, okay, these guys are together now. The three man booth is down to a 2-man booth, and now these guys are on SmackDown, now you're on NXT, now you're back on Raw. Like, it's been chaotic, and a lot of that is because of Pat McAfee becoming the partner of Michael Cole. And so, when they started on Netflix, we knew that Cole and McAfee were going to be the guys on Raw, which meant there was going to be changes on SmackDown. That meant Graves was probably going to be the odd man out. So, like, from that angle, like, I get his frustration. But on the other side, he knew that that was what was going to happen from the beginning. Like, you knew that you
Obviously.
were just trying to accommodate the absence of McAfee during the football season. But also, as I talked to you about, like, when he had to retire because of his injury, Triple H was one of the leading forces, from what we know, to keep him around and get him in another role so that he could still be around wrestling because he loved it so much. So, like, Triple H was a big voice in getting him to be a commentator. So it's really hard for me to believe his side of, like, oh yeah, they're just like, they don't care about you, or you're not that good, or like they're just going to put you down in NXT as
Agreed.
if it's like a punishment. Like, something doesn't add up to me. And so that's why it's like this whole thing is confusing, and it's hard for me to believe that it's real.
Yeah, like that's a big thing that I have, and oh, an issue that I take with it is they aren't kicking you off. They're just
Yeah.
moving you to a different screen. And that's just the nature of the business. Sometimes you're in a job where you get told one thing and then you end up doing something else and succeeding in it. And if they're just moving you around because Pat McAfee took your spot, well, that's life. I hate to tell you that. And it's not anything personal, but as the fan who's watching every week and has been watching every week, you pick up on trends like commentary duos and iconic ones that are going to get the casual fan into becoming the consistent fan. Like Pat McAfee and Cole are the equivalent to this era. This era is JR and King. And before that, Bobby the Brain and Gorilla Monsoon. Like there's these iconic duos that you have to have with your wrestling company. And Pat McAfee and Michael Cole have created lightning in a bottle. Once you create lightning in a bottle with anything, you don't fuck it up. And it sucks that Pat McAfee is on this schedule and bounce people around. But you got to look at the bright side here, man. You got moved to NXT. You know what I mean? Look at Mike Rome. No, that's someone that I think is a great example here. Mike Rome was on Raw and then got booted because Samantha Irvin was killing it and became more than just a ring announcer to the WWE universe. And he got bumped to NXT. Did he tweet out his frustrations? No, he was frustrated, but he realize that it's a gig. You move on. It's a job. I still have it. They're just asking me to do it somewhere else.
Yeah, I think I think the biggest thing is just that it's hard to imagine that he was kept in the dark. I think that's the thing, is like the way that he was talking about it made it seem like he had no idea this was going to happen, that they kind of just like pulled the rug from underneath him and I'm being treated unfairly. Whereas like being frustrated because things aren't working out the way you hoped they were, or not in your favor, or this or that, like, or you're not getting to do what you wish that you were able to, and now you have to do something else. Totally understandable, but that's not how his messages came across. It came across
No.
more so of like all of this was coming out of nowhere and he wasn't told. And I find that hard to believe, given the chaotic schedule, like you said, of Pat McAfee. Like we all knew that this was going to happen.
He's a
So
star. I put your
well, it's
personal
not.
opinions aside. It's he's a star that's going to bring money into the company. And that's what Triple H wants at the end of the day. And like to the I would say the general public of the WWE universe, they want to see Pat McAfee saying his immature comments, like how Jerry the King Lawler used to call women's breast puppies. You know what I mean? It's immature and stupid, but it has a role. It's
Well, I
just
think it's
different now.
also his fame goes beyond wrestling. So it's like if you're
That's
trying,
exactly it.
it's the
He's
same
a
with like
football.
Tessator. Like they're not going to take Tess off of commentary completely because his fame goes beyond wrestling. If anything, he's not even known as for wrestling yet. So
No,
yeah,
he's what Mike Adamle should have been.
yeah, he's better. So
Joe Tessitore. Do you think he knows who Jeff Harvey is? God, dark times.